To the party shadow leader of the House of Commons, Thangham, Debbonaire. Thank you very much for being with us in the studio this evening. I thought it was really interesting, actually. I don't know if you heard our panellists talking about Keir Starmer and this pledge to resign if he is found to have breached the law and to be given a fine. Do you think that, as our last panellist said, that he has really achieved anything by offering this resignation?
I think what he's achieved is drawn a contrast between him, whereby he has already said he would resign if he was issued with a fixed penalty notice over this incident, which just seems, as one of your other panellists said, to be no comparison with the Prime Minister, where there is partying on an industrial scale. There is just no comparison. 10 Downing Street during the first lockdown, where there was wine brought in sort of suitcase loads and parties and cakes and karaoke and guests, there is no comparison. And I think it's a real mark of honour, and it is the man I know, Keir to be, that he is offering to do that right now. But I'm also very confident. I really trust in his judgment. I also know that the man's a very good lawyer, and I'm pretty sure that he will have also thought long and hard about what the best thing to do is for the party, for the country. But I know that his instincts are good and that he works extremely hard, and I'm looking forward to seeing him being proved to have not committed any breaches of rules.
You say that he's a very good lawyer. Do you think in that case he'll have looked at the evidence and he'll be pretty confident that it's going to go one way? Otherwise,
no, I mean that he's Mr. Rules all the way through. I mean, this is a man who has got the rules absolutely down. I mean, he's had to isolate 6 times because of COVID tests in his own family or acquaintances. He's really painstakingly stuck to the rules at some personal cost to him and his family. So I'm saying that in the sense that he really understands the rules, he really understands the law. He always does. He's very good at being able to explain what the rules mean.
One thing that I am still a bit unclear about is what happens if Durham police do exactly what they did with Dominic Cummings. They basically say that they think that the rules were broken, but they don't issue a fine. Does Keir Starmer resign then?
I mean, I think if they think that the rules have been broken, then they will be issuing a fine, but I don't think the rules have been broken.
The case, because I think that Durham police have previously said that they don't issue retrospective fines, and they obviously didn't with Dominic Cummings. Well, so it feels like it's perhaps even in the most likely scenario.
I want the police to do their job. I know the police will be working hard to do a really thorough and objective and fair job. And when that happens, I mean, Keir has said that he's very confident because he knows what he's talking about and he knows what happened, that that's not going to happen. But if it does, then he would resign. I'm not really going to get into whether or not there's a difference of emphasis there, because I think that gets in the way of the police doing their job.
OK, we've been talking a lot about Northern Ireland on the programme today as well. Jeffrey Donaldson, the DUP leader, effectively saying that they're not going to enter this power-sharing arrangement until the Northern Ireland Protocol is scrapped.
Yeah.
What do you make of the DUP position?
Well, that's their position. I think the key person here, though, is Boris Johnson, because the Northern Ireland Protocol was his thing. He went and negotiated it. He was the one who came out waving it around saying he'd got a deal. He needs to own it, and he also needs to make it work. I'm not saying it's perfect. I think there are things they need to sort out. But this is not statecraft on Boris Johnson's part. So I think it's left all parties feeling like they're fed up, frustrated. Whatever side they're on, they need that sort of leadership to come from the Prime Minister. We're not seeing it at the moment. I'd really like him to do that, because the last thing we need in a cost of living crisis, Sophie, is a trade war with our nearest trading partners. And that's what we're risking.
So you would like to see leadership from the Prime Minister.
Yes.
In what direction? What do you want him to do? Because they've hinted to say that they will unilaterally get rid of parts of the Brexit deal without the EU agreement if necessary.
Well, I think that's deeply unhelpful, because that's basically threatening a trade war, and we really can't afford to do that at a time of stagnant growth and crippling price rises. We really need Boris Johnson to show more leadership than that. There are things that he could do now which could help shift the negotiations. If he went back to the EU and said, let's start with negotiating on vet regulations, which would help deal with some of the border crossing issues for food and animal products, that would be a start, and it would be a way of getting people back round the table and saying, look, we've got to be able to find some common ground here.
So whatever happens, you don't think that the UK should do anything without EU agreement, because effectively that would break international law? Is that where you're coming from?
I mean, I think agreements, the clues in the world, it actually was Boris Johnson's agreement in the first place. Now, if he can't make this one work, he needs to find a way to make it amended so that it does work. The last thing we need is no agreement, because that doesn't benefit us. It doesn't benefit British workers, doesn't benefit British businesses. It would be a real damaging effect on our economy. So it's not good for us.
But the DUP, I guess, would argue that, if if he's not going to do anything without the EU approval, that's damaging for Northern Ireland because they're having to bear the brunt of these checks.
But that's what negotiation's for, isn't it? And that's what statesman-like behaviour that we ought to be able to expect from our Prime Minister. That's what we ought to be seeing at this time.
OK, thank you very much for being on the programme. Thanks very much. Thangham, Debbonaire there from Labour.